last week, this group to a Division I. Let's bring on the drum majors right now. Alyssa Aguilar, who is a senior. We have Victoria Mena, also a senior, and Jasmine Peña. Come up on the set, girls. Here they are, the drum majors for the Wildcat Regiment on the Miriam Guerra All-State Insurance pregame show. And that's the way you bring in a pregame show here at Weslaco East, WISD, Bobby Lackey Stadium. Weslaco East taking on to, thank you very much, Drumline for the Wildcat Regiment. We'll hear from them a little bit later. We'll let you guys get off the set over there, relax a little bit. We're going to talk to these girls up on the set. If you just grab a microphone, we have Alyssa Aguilar, who is here, Victoria Mena, and Jasmine Peña. And girls, congratulations. Division I last week at the Pigskin Jubilee. How does it feel to bring home that one?
It feels awesome. We've worked so hard, the whole band, since July, and going to Pigskin, performing, and just earning that Division I really meant the world to us. All our hard work paid off, and it was the best feeling ever. So great.
Yeah, girls, what was it like? You know, you guys perform, but then a bunch of other bands do as well. But in the end, the judges make their decision. But there's always intense moments before they make their announcement. What were those moments like for you guys?
It's really scary, but because you don't know what they're gonna say. But you know, I had a really good feeling about the way my band performed Saturday night. I felt really great. As soon as I got off the field, I was like, yeah! And I went up to my director and I was like, yeah! So I knew that that feeling when he said that long pause, it was something really good. Really good.
Jasmine, tell me a little bit about the experience last week, because I know these two girls, they were drum majors last year, and I believe this is your first time as a drum majors. Am I correct?
Yes,
so,
it's also hers.
Oh, you too, Victoria. Okay, so tell me a little bit about what was it like to be on the field and to bring home that one and be the leader of one of the leaders of this band.
It was very emotional. I was very proud of everybody. And I hope we can continue that tradition of getting a Division I.
That's right, because you're going to be back for another year, right? You're a junior. Yeah, you got two juniors here.
What did you girls tell us what the name of the performance was, and tell us the theme of it and things like that?
Well, our show this year is called Andalusia, the Defiant One, and it's about a female matador in Spain in the 1500s when women weren't really allowed to do that kind of activity because they were supposed to be more feminine, delicate. And so our main character of the show, her name is Andalusia, and she pretty much defies all of the standards in Spain. She does her own thing. She's a matador, and she's strong, and she's brave, but she's also a beautiful woman, and so our show really just encapsulates her character as a whole and shows how that you can really just do whatever you're passionate about and be successful if you really put your heart in it.
And I guess that's why they're wearing the Matador uniforms here tonight. For you've had them all for the entire football season. Now, not only did you guys do really well at Pigskin, but also you had a pre-Pigskin competition in Donna where you got a Division I, and then also you were the fan favorite band for the second year in a row. So thank you very much, girls. Got a little applause here from the cheerleaders.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of, you guys were kind of on a roll this year, isn't that right?
Yes, we were. It was really cool. The competitions, pre-pig, it's an intense competition because it's not only like Pigskin where it's only 8 bands, then those are the 6As in our division, right? It's schools from Laredo, it's schools from other schools that we don't even compete with at like football games or but it's a hard competition, but we came out in a pretty good place, so I'm proud of my band for that.
This is bittersweet for the seniors, right? It's
yes.
a pretty big thing for you guys.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Awesome.
What is next? Pigskin is not the end for you guys. I mean, we're only a couple of months into the school year. So what is next for you guys for the rest of the school year?
Well, we have concert band and contests, and we also have all region where we're going to compete coming up next month on November 18th.
We're looking to get sweepstakes as a band. Since we got straight ones in the marching contest, if we get straight ones in the concert band contest, we'll be a sweepstakes band. It's our ultimate goal.
And it's never too early to start talking about next year. So I got 2 juniors up here on the stage, and next year is the state year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, pretty good momentum, right, going into next year. So what happens between now and then as far as preparing for next year, the big goal?
We're really gonna really push as juniors, we're going to be returning to the band next year. We're really going to push our band like never before. We know what it takes. Last year was a state year for us as well. Yeah. And we're really, really, really pushing to make it to state. We have a wonderful director, wonderful staff that we know will lead us to where we need to be. And we're really just pushing ourselves individually and pushing our students to really just give it their all and to just make that final push that we need to make as a group to make it to state.
All right, Alyssa, I want you to grab the microphone because you're the senior up here. What are the final few words that you have to say to your fans and to everybody? Because I heard there was a big crowd at in Harlingen from Weslaco.
Yes, it was amazing. This group of seniors has been through a lot. My freshman year, Zoe, a really good show. We made it to area finals, and I was really looking forward to that last year for Bocelli, but it's all right. I know the show next year, Mr. Cuellar knows what he's doing. I know he's a great director, and I know the band will get there.
All right.
Seniors, it's...
Go ahead. Give them one more shout out.
Seniors, we did what we needed to do, and I'm proud of them. And I know that the juniors have really good role models to look up to.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, girls.
Congratulations.
Once again, the drum majors for the Wildcat Regiment, Alyssa Aguilar, Victoria Mena, and Jasmine Peña. We'll let you guys go off the set. And we'll bring on the drum line here, not right now, but in a little bit, because we're going to talk a little football. Thank you very much, girls. And they'll be performing, of course, during the halftime show. And Weslaco East versus Rivera. That's right. We still have a football game to talk about. What a big game last week that Weslaco, the Wildcats against Harlingen, a victory for them, 20-17. A little bit of a surprise there. Cheerleaders, I know you guys were there, and it was a great win for them. Mike, it looked like it was just doom and gloom for the Wildcats, and then last week they come up with a signature win for the 2017 season.
It really was, Carlos, because, I mean, many felt like perhaps the season is over because of all the injuries they've had. They go into a Harlingen Bogus Stadium where Harlingen was red hot and beat them at their house for the first time in school history. I mean, it was only the second time they've ever played with each other, but, you know, just a big-time win to put them right back in the playoff picture.
Yeah, a big win for the Wildcats. Anytime you beat Harlingen, it's going to be a significant moment for the organization. But now they get ready for Rivera, and they're playing here at home. It is tonight, a little bit chilly. The temperature dropped about 10, 15 degrees just as the show was starting. Now Rivera is 1-6, 0-4 on the district season. So how do they get up for a game like this? Well, we talked to Coach Burgett, and we also talked to Richard Lefevre after the game, and here's what they had to say.
One is Tom Chavez. Tom Chavez is one of the greatest coaches to come through the Valley. So, you know, I got a lot of respect for him, and I know they took it on the chin at halftime right now, but I don't know what the final is. But, you know, you look at the Rivera team, they got some big old boys, so they're going to be fired up.
It doesn't matter who the team is. You can't take them lightly because anything can happen in a football game. Anybody could get hurt. The ball could bounce different ways because it's not round. So anything could happen. And for that to happen, we're going to have to come out with the same intensity we had for the past 2 weeks to come out and get better every day, every time we go.
Really like that attitude. You know, they can't let up, especially right now because the season continues for them. Remember last year they lost 3 straight games. They come up and they avenge that loss from last year, beating Harlingen. So I don't think this is a team that will relax tonight.
Absolutely not, Carlos. It's like Coach Burgett said, Tom Chavez, that's a household name here in the Rio Grande Valley. 140 career wins. And not only that, Carlos, he's a member of the Rio Grande Valley Sports Hall of Fame, was inducted this past summer. Congratulations to the legendary coach. And, anytime Tom Chavez comes to town, you better be ready.
Always got to be careful. Let's take a look at the standings right now in 32-6A because Hannah, that's right, Brownsville, Hannah, and San Benito are both tied atop of the district at 4-0. Hannah's been come up with an upset last week against Los Fresnos, but look who they still have to play. They got to go to those tough games. San Benito, they got to play Harlingen, and then, of course, they have to play Weslaco East in the final game of the season. And then San Benito, let's go ahead and take a look who they have to play. But San Benito is really looking very good this year, undefeated on the entire year. They have to play Hannah, Weslaco, and Harlingen, so they still have a couple of big games in the Battle of the Arroyo. That's going to end the season for them. They lost last year to Harlingen. And then the Cardinals right there in third place at 3-1. They still have Los Fresnos, Hannah, and San Benito. Weslaco East, it seems like they might have the easier schedule as the season continues here. Rivera, Harlingen South, and then they end the season against Brownsville, Hannah, and then Los Fresnos. So they're still trying to get into the playoffs, taking on Harlingen, Rivera, and Weslaco. 5 teams, Mike, all looking to go to the playoffs. They only take 4 teams, but it looks like Weslaco East right now has the easier schedule as the season continues.
Absolutely, Carlos. I mean, with 3 games left, this thing could easily switch, take turns, or move. Somebody could go down, somebody else can go up. Brownsville had a 4-0 in district. However, the last 3 games, their opponents have a combined record of 16-5. That's a 762 winning percentage. Weslaco East, their opponents have a 8-13 record combined with a winning percentage of 381. That's like a big time difference there. So by the end of the year, Weslaco East could easily find itself around second place if they're able to take care of business and some of these teams fall.
So how did we end up here? They had the big 3, now they're just the big 1 because, they had JC go down and Roy went down and Gonzalez also went down, their other running back. Well, they've done it because Lefevre has stepped up his game. Mike Gonzalez, my partner right here, went to practice and here's what he found out.
He's breaking free. After falling in its previous 2 games, Weslaco East is back in the thick of things after a huge win over Harlingen High last week.
We got a bunch of young players that grew up in the Los Fresnos second half, and they realize that they still can play football even without the talent that we have missing right now.
Since the loss of stars Roy Pedraza, JC Vargas, and Freddy Gonzalez to injury, it's been quarterback Richard Lefevre who has uplifted his play. We knew about his 6'4", 250-pound frame, but now the Wildcats are maximizing it. Lefevre has powered his way to team highs 249 yards on 34 carries and 1 touchdown in the last 2 games. He's carried defenders down the field, and his team is right back in the playoff hunt.
I had a breakout against Los Fresnos supposedly, and I guess I proved to him that I could run a little for my size, and so he just kind of gave it to me from there.
With the key injuries, others like senior Derek Ibarra and sophomore Ramsey Vasquez have stepped right in to help elevate the Wildcats rack up 401 yards against an aggressive Cardinal defense.
I think we're getting better. I see it in practice. I think these young guys are stepping up. They're filling the shoes.
Wildcat cheerleaders who have joined us here on the set are very excited about what has gone on with Richard Lefevre, and it really seems, Mike, that this is, like I said earlier, his team now.
He's been a lethal weapon for this offense, Carlos, absolutely. He's carried the team ever since the injuries to Freddie, Roy, and JC, and you can tell that the coaches are very confident in him.
Let's take a look at some of the stats for Richard Lefevre over the past couple of games against, Los Fresnos and Harlingen. And this is what he has done. Against Harlingen, 145 yards and a touchdown there with 21 carries. Combined those 2 games, 249 yards and a touchdown for the season. You see that 373 yards rushing. But look at the passing, almost 1,000 yards passing for Richard Lefevre, Mike.
Absolutely, Carlos. He's managed the offense, 3-year starter. The chemistry between him and Coach Burgett is perfect. And, anytime an injury happens to a player like that, you lose 2 stars and then a great role player there, but you still have Richard Lefevre, and he's really come through, and he's thrown for almost 1,000 yards. But what I like, Carlos, is his 11 touchdown, 4 interception ratio. Last year, he had a little bit of trouble with that, but that hasn't been the case this year.
They've been passing the ball a lot, I should say, here for this game, and also running the ball with Lefevre. Let's take a look at some of the video from last week against Harlingen. They come out passing, and the passing game was on fire, and it almost seemed like they were using the passing game to set up the running game, and you just saw some great runs by Richard, and it's not just, where they're designed for him or he's running them out of the spread. He also gets up there right in the gap, and if he sees a little gap right there and he sees a little bit of movement, he'll take off running and he'll pick up 5-10 yards. Remember, this is an individual who is 6'4", 240 pounds. He's very hard to bring down, so he had some just great runs that he had against the Cardinals last week, and they still continued to go to the passing game. But one of my favorite ones was this one right here, where he leaped over the linebacker to keep the drive alive. They ended up scoring on that drive right there, but he's just so hard to bring down. Not the fastest guy, but you don't need fast when you're so big. He eventually punched this one in for the score, and then towards the end of the game, it was 3rd down and 4. They needed to run the clock out, and what did they do? They said, okay, Richard, you take off, give us 4 yards, and he got a whole lot more. Eventually ran down the clock, and you see Richard watch at the very end of the play as he gets up, and everyone is thrilled because they know at that point that they had just won the game. He's exhausted at that point, and he really came into his own last week against Harlingen.
And what I like, Carlos, is that defensively, they haven't figured the Wildcats out. I mean, they have Richard running to the right side. They have him running to the left side, even up the middle. And it just seems to me like the defense just cannot stop him. And then as you can see, it takes about 2 or 3 defenders to bring him down. And the other thing he showed, Carlos, is the very last play of the game, that play we just saw right now. He has the capability of taking it to the house all the way if he needs to for about 50 yards if needed. And so just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful teammate and player. And he's really stepped it up, Carlos.
Certainly a leader for the Wildcats. The passing game also against Harlingen. Watch this, because there was a time where they came out in the second half. They come out passing, but they stuck to the pass. They stick to the passing game. Incomplete there on first down. They go back to the passing game right now because they're committed to it at that point. Incomplete again. Then on third down, they need 10 yards for the first. It's also incomplete. So they go ahead and punt the ball. They get the ball back on their next possession of the second half. And what does Coach Lefevre do? Maybe in years past, he would shy away from the passing game because he didn't have any confidence in it. But here he goes deep. And Jaime Benuelos, he catches this one for over 70-yard touchdown catch, and it shows right there. The freshman came in from Ben Bolt as a sophomore. They weren't so committed to that passing game, but it looks now that Coach Burgett has a lot of confidence in what Richard Lefevre can do.
If you recall, Carlos, in the preseason when we talked to Coach Burgett, he did say, I have confidence in this young man. He's proven it to me. And sure enough, despite the injuries, they're still keeping the game plan on. They're still letting him release the ball. Some of those catches could have been caught, that they just were dropped, and so they stuck to it. That last play with Jaime Benuelos, that used to be the play between Richard Lefevre and J.C. Vargas. Now Jaime is the guy stepping up, and it's worked.
Absolutely. All right, so it'll be Harlingen. It'll be Brownsville Rivera. Harlingen is done. Brownsville Rivera tonight, 7:30. Bring your jacket. It's a little bit chilly.
Yeah.
And then in Harlingen at Bogus Stadium, Weslaco will be taking on Harlingen South as the Panthers. Let's take a look what they have left on their schedule. They have a tough game tonight, taking on the South Hawks. That'll be taking place at Bogus Stadium. Then November 3rd, they got another away game for taking on the Greyhounds, and then they will have Los Fresnos here at home to end the season. So Weslaco High, only one district win. Is looking very difficult for them to make the playoffs, but they certainly do want to end the season on a winning note and some momentum going to next year.
Absolutely, Carlos. Last week, Weslaco ended its 4-game losing streak. Have a lot of momentum. They played well these last few weeks. I know Marco Leal had a great game. Anthony De Santiago had a great game. Jaden Cavazos with huge nights, but they found new weapons, Carlos. Elijah Banda, who's had a hamstring injury early in the year, came back strong, 2 touchdowns, and they have a new secret weapon, Jeremy Coronado, a junior running back who was promoted from the JV squad. Big night, 15 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Let's see if that continues.
All right, so we'll have highlights of, and we'll have that score tonight, highlights of this game tonight after Weslaco East and Brownsville Rivera. Right now, we're going to turn it over to the drum line one more time. The Wildcat Regiment drum line here in the house to take us out for the Miriam Guerra Allstate Insurance pregame show. We'll see you guys after the game. For Mike Gonzalez, I'm Carlos Robledo. Have a good evening, everybody.